Yeah, should be right now.
Yeah, you start on time. Because you've got a...
Good.
People in New South Wales are having problems with the coverage. Is it them?
The what?
The coverage, the live Zoom.
No, that's not Zoom.
What is it?
YouTube.
YouTube. They're having. Okay.
Just ask them. Follow the link. Follow each link. Click into each link.
Okay. Hi, Barbara. I'm at the Institute. Are you still having problems? Are you okay? I want to listen to you. Are you still having problems? So just click on the...
Just click on the link, follow the time, follow the topic. If they haven't watched it yet, they can just click on the link according to the topic.
Yeah, she said she's having problems. Okay. Thank you.
So it's safe anyway. On the lines.
Can we see it later?
Yeah.
So we can see Brian's
Yep.
later. Oh, good on you.
It was before people used to make the hand of human hand and God. Should be all right.
Thanks for that.
No, if they sleep, I know. If they sleep, I know. I'll count each minute because I know that I already schedule my time 30 minutes or 35 minutes only. So each minute delay, I'll continue to speak. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Father Tree.
Come on.
Bless you, Father.
This topic may be a little bit scary, maybe a little bit negative, but it's actually not negative at all. It's about warning more than negative. So there's no answer exactly say that you don't use AI, but you should use AI in cautious. So you can see on the screen there that it's quite often before the age of AI, the photo mostly likely like the hand of God touching human hand, right? But now there's something different. Just notice that a few minutes before the presentation actually. I was given the topic, this topic, I just want to acknowledge Father Brian first because before to the institution, he actually sent out weekly letters, and some of his weekly letters, including some AI, some topic relevant to AI, which make this presentation easier so that I don't need to spend half of my presentation explain what is AI. But I just need to focus on the ethic of AI. I was given the topic, AI is changing so much on how we live, how we gain information, how we express ourselves, how AI helps us to live and promote our charism. I just think that the one who formulated this topic must understand very well about AI, because it is so true that AI has already influenced in every aspect of the life of each individual and society. Its impact is felt globally and in a wide range of areas, including interpersonal relationships, education, work, art, healthcare, law, warfare, and international relations. That's I take from Antiqua et Nova. In the new encyclical letter Magnificat Humanitas of Pope Leo XIV, the Pope said that the Pope had already observed that AI is not knock at the door, it's already inside the house. At first, when I read this encyclical letter, I just don't understand why the Pope keep reflected on the contribution of each individual Pope and their most relevant documents, as well as the foundations and principles of the social doctrine of the Church. So I thought that how the Pope proved that he did not do anything beyond the tradition of the Church. Yes, but if it is that basic, then it isn't worth to waste energy and time. The more I read, the more I recognize that AI revolution has touched to each and every aspect of humanity, and human is at risk of losing itself in the age of AI. And that is the core reason. Pope Leo XIV recalled the time of his predecessor, Leo XIII, saying that when some objected that the church should not waste energy and on worldly matter, but instead focus on communicating the message of eternal life, Leo XIII responded with realism and wisdom, saying that proclamation of the gospel cannot overlook the concrete lives of people. So, Father Luke just used that quotation a few minutes ago. He wanted to emphasize that we also cannot ignore the fact that humanity may lose itself in the age of AI. So in this presentation, I would like to focus on four most major issues posed by AI revolution: that power imbalance and data colonialism, obscure truth, distorted morality, and ecological crisis, and the significant role of our charism in responding to the issue of our time. But before that, we must keep in our mind that the most and foremost principle of ethics is the good of humanity and the environment, of our common home and its inhabitants, who are closely interconnected. So anything that violates this principle is an ethical matter. In preparing for this presentation, I relied heavily on the Pope New encyclical letter and also consulted a number of articles and speeches from various experts. So first of all, I would like to begin with the power imbalance and data colonialism. Where's that? Do I miss something? I do miss something, yeah. AI is not neutral entity. It is designed, operated, and owned by a very small number of global technology corporations that possess vast amounts of capital, data, and computing power. Because the barriers to entry into the AI market are extremely high, and the development and control of platform models are increasingly concentrated in a few companies such as Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, and Apple. Meanwhile, the majority of humanity is merely a user with almost no ability to monitor or control how these systems impact their lives. Pope Leo XIV warned that technology is never neutral. These algorithms always reflect the values, interests, and the assumptions of those who design them. He also emphasized that it is necessary to ensure that technologies are not concentrated in the hands of only a few people, thereby widening the gap between those included and those excluded from the digital revolution. This is a very powerful statement because it shifts the debate from is AI good or bad to is AI serving the public good or accumulating power. This recalls the two biblical icons of the Tower of Babel and the rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem in the book of Nehemiah that the Pope used in the encyclical. The idea is to choose between the logic of domination and the logic of shared responsibility. But the terrified reality of the impact of AI is that we are being interacted with and dominated by AI every day without even realizing it. For the general public and end users, the worldview with regard to AI is often limited to a large visible language models like Gemini or ChatGPT on personal devices. In fact, it has been invisibly integrated into the functioning of society through hidden algorithms that people cannot see. The recommendation algorithms on social media, video platforms. Some of us may experience that we choose a topic on YouTube that we prefer to watch, and the next day we open YouTube again, we saw some video that relevant topic. Credit scoring systems, searching engines, and text prediction features are silently shaping what we see, read, buy, think, and even how we express ourselves. They don't simply reflect user preferences, but actively guide behavior to maximize profit and interaction time. This profound power imbalance is the modern manifestation of data colonialism. If traditional colonialism exploited land and natural resources, data colonialism exploits personal data as a new resource. By exploiting the flow of technology from the peripheral devices like headphones, like laptops, to every social platform, AI-powered entities are able to extract the entirety of humanity identity data. Every online behavior, preference, habit, social interaction, geographical location, and even our health status can be collected, analyzed, and commercialized. They do not only possess simple demographic information, but also the genetic makeup and health records of each individual. And the clearest evidence of this comprehensive surveillance capability was the experience at Monday dinner when we took turn to question Gemini, do you know anything about Brother Jerome Dunn, CP, Father Dennis, CP, Father Chris Monahan, CP, and each one of us the answers we receive were astonishingly accurate, and none of us could have compiled a more complete and in-depth personal biography than this automated system has established. So this is a short answer. There is a longer answer, but I just cut it apart like this. This is the answer that Gemini write about Brother Jerome. Can someone help me to raise this, please?
Yes, I do know Brother Jerome Dunn, CP, is a deeply respected religious brother of the Passionist congregation, Congregatio Passionis, hence CP. He is widely known for his profound missionary heart, vibrant energy, and a life entirely dedicated to service. His life and ministry trace a remarkable journey of faith, particularly connecting Australia and Papua New Guinea.
I hope that I can write something very good like that for myself.
Give it time.
In an interview by Gavin Jacobson on the 9th of June 2026, Antonio Spadaro, the Jesuit theologian and expert on digital culture, said that the technological sector suffers from what the Pope calls the bubble syndrome. It translates everything, even the mystery of the human being, into data and profit. Data colonialism takes control of human beings by transforming their lives, memories, relationships, emotion, and behaviors into data that can be exploited and commercialized. So it is clearly that power imbalance and data colonialism is an extreme ethical issue posed by AI revolution to humanity. Thus, the Pope Leo XIV strongly emphasized AI must be disarmed, meaning to free it from the logics that turn it into an instrument of domination and exclusion. Thus, we just go through the first major issue of data colonialism and power imbalance. The next thing I want to say about is obscuring truth. Truth is not a set of accurate information. It is the condition for human freedom and growth. Jesus said, "The truth will set you free." Someone will know where it comes from. However, AI is creating new mechanisms that can obscure humanity's ability to recognize truth. Algorithms are never completely neutral. Some people tend to think that AI is more objective than humans because it is a machine. But the reality is not that simple. Every AI system is designed by humans, trained on human-selected data, and optimized according to human-defined goals. Therefore, algorithms always reflect the cultural, economic, and philosophical assumptions of their creators. In the early days of ChatGPT, if you asked to create a photo of a beautiful girl, it would render a young Western girl with white skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes. Pope Leo XIV warned that there is also a subtler danger for when AI systems present themselves as neutral and objective, they end up reflecting and reinforcing the stereotypes or ideology bias of their designers and developers. AI not only transmits information, it can also transmit biases hidden within the system. The problem becomes more serious when algorithms are designed to maximize user attention and interaction time. Digital platforms don't prioritize what is right. They prioritize what keeps users on the platform. Therefore, if a person frequently views or searches for a certain type of content, the system will constantly provide more similar content. Over time, that person becomes trapped in an echo chamber where they only hear things that align with their pre-existing beliefs. Historian and philosopher Yuval Noah Harari, a professor at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, he says that for thousands of years, prophets, poets, and politicians have used language to manipulate and reshape society. Now AI is likely to be able to do it. He warns that AI is creating unprecedented cognitive manipulation capabilities in history. As algorithms understand our preferences, emotions, and fears, they can influence how we perceive reality. The result is what we believe isn't necessarily true, but often what we hear more often. AI isn't a thinking human. It doesn't actually know what's right and what's wrong. AI is essentially based on a large language model. That means it processes words and symbols, not ideas. Essentially, AI connects words based on patterns that exist on the global internet. It doesn't construct ideas. It constructs words in sequence based on a pattern it sees online. Therefore, an idea that it seems to generate, or something that our minds perceive as an idea, because we understand it as an idea, is not how the AI understands it. It is simply generating words. The AI is not intentionally lying. It simply doesn't know whether it is right or wrong. But what we think is an idea could be an illusion. It could be a mistake. This phenomenon is called hallucination. However, the deepest ethical problem lies not with AI, but with humanity. The real danger arises when humans use AI without critical thinking. Father Antonio Spadaro remarked, "The question is not whether machines think, but whether human beings will continue to think." With what is created by AI, people very often don't critically consider whether what the AI says is true, whether the idea is verifiable, whether it is valid truth, and they simply accept it as self-evident because they assume that AI has taken on the responsibility of thinking. On this point, Father Chris always emphasized that he is not afraid of his students using AI to write essays, but it is essential that they clearly state where they are using AI and what their reasons for it. AI doesn't think, and when an entity doesn't think, the question of truth is not raised. Therefore, there is a risk of using AI without taking into the account of crucial element of human agency. In 1964, as computers began to permeate industrial life, philosopher Sidney J. Harris warned against losing human death in a mechanical world. The real danger is not that computers will begin to think like men, but that men will begin to think like computers. Although he said this long before the AI era, his warning carries profound philosophical prophecy about alienation of humanity in the face of technology. So perhaps today we should also echo Sydney's words. We should not fear the machines become more like humans. What we should fear is humans become more like machines. That's the second point. The third point is distorted morality. You find some photo very interesting because I'm speaking about AI, so I said, choose you AI to render some photo. AI is not human. It has no conscience, no moral discernment, and no ethical responsibility. Contrary to what many people perceive when interacting with AI, it has no emotions, no consciousness, and no real intelligence in the human sense. What AI possesses are only extremely complex algorithms. However, these algorithms are designed to generate sequences of words and sentences that sound like they are being spoken by a real human being. Therefore, when conversing with AI, many people feel as if they are talking to a thinking and emotional entity on the other side of the screen. But that's just an impression. In reality, it is not. Behind those very human-like words is not a human being. It's an algorithmic system incapable of understanding good and evil, right and wrong, justice and injustice. It simply operates according to its programmed instructions. Pope Leo XIV reminded us, artificial intelligence can simulate aspects of human reasoning, but it cannot replicate moral discernment, conscience, or the capacity for self-giving love. That's Magnificat Humanitas number 118. In other words, AI can simulate reason, but it cannot replace conscience. So imagine a company operating entirely on AI algorithms. AI would evaluate work performance, track KPIs, and determine who stays and who leaves. Father Chris is very keen to protect workers. For him, if AI is implemented in business, many people will lose their jobs. The reality is that while AI might take jobs from some, it will also create jobs for others. However, the issue isn't whether AI creates jobs or takes jobs, but rather in such a system, workers would gradually stop using AI as a tool to assist their work. Instead, they would have to adjust their lives and work to meet the criteria set by AI. If an employee fails to meet the metrics of the system is programmed to monitor, the AI will issue a warning or suggest termination without knowing the individual's actual circumstances. The algorithm sees only data. Humans see a human being. However, this is only consequence in the economic sphere. But in a scenario is even more alarming when AI is applied to warfare. Imagine automated weapon systems capable of identifying targets, selecting targets, and firing without direct human intervention. Then the decision of who dies, who gets attacked, and which country becomes the target of a missile attack could be entrusted to a system completely devoid of ethical consideration. After an attack, all the operator might see is a disappearing dot on the screen or a missing completion message. They don't see the destroyed rooms, the shattered families, or the lives lost. This technological gap threatens to paralyze human moral sensibilities. That's why the weaponization of AI is becoming one of the most serious ethical concerns of our time. If an automated system causes a human death, who will be held accountable? The algorithm cannot be held responsibility because it has no concern. No morals can be demanded from a machine because the machine doesn't know what it had done. It is in this context that Pope Leo XIV resonates with particular weight. AI must be disarmed, because when decisions concerning life and death are entrusted to systems incapable of moral discernment, humanity risks losing itself. This is the fourth major issue, ecological crisis. We've been talking a lot about taking care of our environment and the natural resources we find from the earth, right? And being very aware of our consumption of these resources. But not many of us are aware that the use of AI is very energy intensive. Behind every question sent to ChatGPT, Gemini, or AI system are massive data centers, millions of processors, enormous amounts of electricity, and an ever-increasing need for water to cool the systems. A very simple example that in 2025, I have said this one to look on the car, actually. Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, stated that the mere act of users regularly saying please and thank you to ChatGPT would generate additional electricity cost of tens of millions of dollars. This shows that even seemingly small interactions in the digital world require very real physical resources. A report cited by Renew stated that an AI query can consume about 10 times more energy than a typical Google search. The operation of AI also requires a significant amount of, is that mineral or mineral? It's mineral elements for the AI to build and function. According to FP Analytics report, artificial intelligence and the critical mineral crisis, the entire AI ecosystem today depends on mineral products such as gallium, germanium, copper, palladium, tantalum, silicon, and rare earth elements. These materials are what make up AI chip, fiber optic cables, data centers, cooling systems, and the power transmission networks. The International Energy Agency report cited in the study forecast that by 2030, the AI boom could increase global demand for copper by about 2%, rare earth elements by about 3%, and gallium by as much as 11%. In other words, each conversation with AI not only consumes energy, but also relies on a global chain of natural resources. Natural resources extraction, with very credible environmental and social consequences to consider. Moreover, a research shows that a data center in Oregon consumed 355 million gallons of water in 2021. The problem is, once used for cooling servers, much of that water cannot be returned to the drinking water supply. It is to see that the ecological toll of AI infrastructure is staggering. It is estimated that data centers cost $6 billion in air pollution-related health damages in 2023. Scholars Adam, this man is too hard to pronounce his name. He warned that data centers pollute the air with microscopic particles that bypass the body's defenses and settle deep in lung tissue. This small particulate matter, which can lead to asthma, cardiovascular diseases, and long-term organ damage, can travel for hundreds of miles. So even people who do not live near a data center may breathe in dangerous emissions. But one thing we need to be aware is that the burden of these harms is not equally shared, since many AI centers are built in economically vulnerable rural areas, which already disadvantaged communities are disproportionately affected by the resulting pollution and water scarcity. It is a continuation of a long history of marginalized communities becoming sacrifice zones that shoulder the environmental cost of economic progress. This is environmental racism. So it has been a few years since Pope Francis released the encyclical letter Laudato Si on the care for our common home. The Pope called to protect the earth and those who suffer from ecological crisis. His message should ring the bell to us again as we face with the challenge of AI revolution. After walk through the 4 different major issues of ethics, now we come to the role of our charism in this age of AI revolution. Our charism is very much demonstrated in the first vow that either the professed or non-professed passionate is carrying out in our daily life to keep alive the memory of the passion of Jesus Christ. We do not promote suffering, but the love that God has for us manifested on the cross, on which Jesus Christ self-sacrificed for us, especially those who suffer. In a message to the General Superior of our congregation, at that time was Joachim Rigaud, on the occasion of first centenary jubilee celebrations, Pope Francis said, "As our Master and Savior, Jesus is risen and no longer dies in his body, which mystically is the church, but mysteriously he is also in every human being to whom he is joined in the unique way in the incarnation. That he suffers and dies again. So do not tire of accentuating your commitment to the needs of humanity." This missionary calling is directed above all towards the crucified of our age, the poor, the weak, the oppressed, and those discarded by many forms of injustice. The answer for the question how we live our charism, how we carry out the mission that we are entrusted to, depends so much on the answer of the question, who is the crucified in this world? Who is the poor? Who is the weak, the oppressed in the age of AI revolution? So we have just discussed four major ethical issues posed by AI revolution. It is clear that humanity is at risk of losing human dignity. The gap between the includers and the excluders is widening, and the most vulnerable are being hit harder than ever. These are crucified of our time. Remember that charism are gifts of the Holy Spirit given to the church, especially to our congregation, to fulfill its mission. Many still need help, so the mission is not yet complete. We have to continue to carry it out. Therefore, Pope Francis appealed to the General Superior, also remind each one of us, do not tire of accentuating our commitment to the needs of humanity. This missionary calling is directed above all to the crucified one of our age. I missed that one again. Thank you. It's correct time for Brian. Thank you. And I have some questions so that we can discuss.
G would like to give a handout. We've only got 33 of these at the moment because the photocopiers stopped at this stage. Just mention that, as you know, Chi was ordained 3 weeks ago and he was going to go back to Vietnam for, which he is doing, tomorrow morning for his Thanksgiving Mass, but he wanted to be here for the Institute. And that was before he took on this task, which he's done an enormous amount of work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Brian.
And to Luke, where's Luke? Luke, you know, brilliant. Thank you.
It's not a message of affirmation.
In the room, 33 in here. And then we'll hopefully get the others. So I don't think to worry about small groups, just have a chat with someone there and we'll go down to lunch. Gerard's organised.